E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live. With your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, it's Monday, and this is going to be a really fun week.
Yes, ma'am, it is. We're going to be talking about some fun things you can do, especially now because there's, with the, let's just say, the lack of available funds.
Right.
But, kids don't understand that. But they do understand we're going to have some fun in the midst of this heat. We're going to do some things in-house. And we're going to talk about some fun things that, you can research on the internet. You may have you may come up with different things than we mentioned here, and that's cool. But the main thing is to get the kids involved and let them buy into it. And if you don't have kids, if you're like, I am, and Donna, except for, the fur babies, we're empty nesters. So, you don't have to worry about getting the cats involved. They just.
They're already involved, brother.
Oh, yeah. They invite you to be in their life. That's the way it is. But Donna, today, my goodness gracious, on the national today, today is June 27th. It's going to be the 27th all day long. And one of the first things, I've always enjoyed this game. And I haven't played it in probably 60 years, to be honest with you, or 50 years. National Bingo game.
Bingo's fun.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's a fun game. And this is a great game for, folks to be involved with their kids and come up with different little, prizes and stuff like that. And even in the neighborhood, I mean, invite over your best friends or, folks next door, kids or whatever, and just have some good old fashioned fun because bingo is a fun game. I don't even know how bingo got started. Do you?
I don't, but I'll tell you what I love about bingo, especially with your littles, right? Getting them involved helps them read their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I know my son and daughter-in-law, they do that with their, of course, my granddaughter's super smart and much older. But with our grandson, they do that. They get him involved in card games and get him to where, he's learning numbers better, et cetera, et cetera. And it is truly a great way to learn and to have fun.
Yes, it really is. And I may have a glitch here in my system if I do on my change horses here as far as my internet goes. But you're exactly right. I'm looking up here a little bit, and I did not realize it says the game which came to the U.S. in the 1930s started with paper cards sporting 24 numbered squares arranging in 5 rows and 5 columns, plus that enticing free space in the middle, which seems to promise a shortcut to riches. But National Bingo Day, it was selected June 27th would be the day that America would celebrate National Bingo Day. And what a wonderful, and you could, just think this weekend, Friday night bingo,
Right. Well, here's something that I know is going to get you going.
All right.
It always does. National Ice Cream Cake Day.
The woman knows me well. Oh my goodness. National Ice Cream Cake Day. Yes, ma'am.
Good stuff.
Whoever came up with the make out a national day, give them a raise. They deserve it.
My mama always made this ice cream cake, and I always made it for my kids, and they adore it. And I remember one year had a big, huge birthday party for my youngest daughter. And she's like, "Oh, Mama, I want that cake." And she was, I think it was her first double digit.
Yeah.
And so we made it. No big deal. And I got to tell you, it surprised me. Most of the
Yeah.
little girls there, because I did that one time. I had like 18 little girls sleep over at my house.
Mm.
Yes, sir. It
And
was difficult. But they were just they kind of were like, what is this? Because
yeah.
it's actually a lemonade ice cream cake.
Mm.
And it's super, super good. And of course, there's my youngest just, chowing away, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a little weird." And maybe it was just because they were young, our taste buds change. But ooh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah. I remember when Lisa was I think about 6 or 7, something like that. And this is a free, you could thank me later there, Baskin Robbins, but we'd go down to Baskin Robbins and we get the birthday ice cream cake there. And oh my good, it was what we would call scrumdiddlyicious. It was that good. And I mean, it was a real treat. So
Right.
that's the beauty of it is I think kids miss out on a lot of things like that because when kids get things every few weeks or every month or something like that, it loses its novelty.
Right.
It really does. And like the only time that they got that the kids got that cake in our house was on a birthday. So it was very, very special. And that's what kids remember is the special things, not the everyday things, because everyday things they get taken for granted, don't they, Donna?
They do. I've always said that when I'm no longer here on earth, my children aren't going to remember and when they were little and I made them redo their chores until they did it right. They're not going to remember, sorry, you got to clean your room, you got to mow the lawn, you're all that. I mean, they'll remember it, but the big things will become all the little things.
Yeah,
The sacrifices, the making sure that, when one of them had a really bad week at school, that their favorite meal was made.
yeah. And they'll also remember the actions more than the words when you demonstrate the little ways that you love them. That will rise to the surface 100% of the time. It did in my life after I lost my father in 1978. And we're going to talk a little bit about family trees today. And also after I lost my mom, because I remembered, the things
Yes.
that she did. Her sayings, of course, but the real things that were precious to me were her actions without words that demonstrated her love for me.
Right.
And that's just branded in my brain. It's part of
It's
my
in your
DNA.
heart.
Yeah, it's
It's
who
in
I
your.
am.
Mhm.
It's who I am. Yeah.
It's a heart print, Jim.
Oh yeah. It's that. I'll guarantee you that. And talk about National Ice Cream Day. No one really knows whoever, when it was originated or whatever. But that's okay. We're not going to complain about that. We're not going to we're not going to fight over small little details like that. The main
We're
thing of
just
it
going to
is,
appreciate it.
you bet, you bet. And today is National Onion Day, and I have really grown. When I was a kid, oh well, yeah, I ate onions. Didn't think too much about it. But the red onions, I have just developed a passion for those things. If I'm going to have onions on something, I want red onions. That's just the way I'm wired.
Different recipes. Of course, I use different onions.
Hmm.
When I was still in Ohio, I went to the farmer's market and I'm trying to remember what the heck it was called. It's actually grown in Texas. And it was some kind of a sweet onion.
Oh yeah,
It's not the normal name.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
a normal name
yeah,
for an onion.
yeah.
And
Uh,
I had that and I just about went ballistic. It was so dadgum good.
oh yeah.
It was, I mean, they say Vidalias are sweet, and I
Mhm,
use Vidalias. They
mhm.
got nothing on this bad boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've had those before, and I forget. I know what you mean. They got a specific name to them, and
Yeah.
well, if they come from Texas, they got to be the best anyway.
On account of cuz.
Yeah. Yeah, and I grew up in North Carolina, so I'm not a diehard Texan or anything like that, but I do enjoy living here. It's a beautiful state, beautiful people, just like we have beautiful people in every state of the union. Every state in the union has a beautiful. It is just beautiful. There's areas, the parks that they have there, and the same is true, Donna, with folks around the world. Beautiful people around the world and our kind of people, our audience, we know is just everyday, down to earth people.
Yep.
And they're just like us.
Right.
They really are. And they probably giggle at me when I mispronounce words correctly, but I have a degree in that.
Oh,
But,
goodness.
Donna, we were talking, last week about some of the things that we should start sharing with others. People, kids of all ages,
Right.
as they say at the circus. And on Friday, we wrapped up with Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret.
Mhm.
What a tremendous man he was, and what an uplifting experience he was. And
What
if
an
you know,
impact.
yes, that's the biggest secret to me is that very few people have ever heard of Earl Nightingale.
Right.
He was a tremendous guy. And we have the link there. I'm gonna ask Donna to put it up
I'm
there.
looking.
She's searching for it, and she's rolling that Rolodex there. But if you do not have YouTube in your country, you can Google or go on a search engine and just Google uh, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, just like his name spelled right there, Nightingale. And you can download the PDF file. And I think I sent you that PDF file, didn't I, Donna?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's word for word what's on
Right.
the YouTube video there. But you can also share that with someone that you know that might need an uplift. And the thing I like about Earl Nightingale and our good friend, Mr. Bill Heinrich, the seven levels of truth. I think I got that pretty well centered. And
There you
that's
go.
his picture on the back. There we go. Yeah. And Bill's a good friend of ours. We endorse his book. We do not receive any type of compensation for that because Bill is a personal friend of ours. He does favors for us. We do favors for him. Yeah, we're family. That's exactly
Hmm.
what it is. In fact, Donna and I and Bill, we're all brothers and sisters by different mothers. That's the way we look at it. And that's the
Yeah.
attitude we should have with everybody we come in contact with. Doesn't
Right.
matter, whether male, female, the pigment color of their skin, that's irrelevant. They are a human being with a heart, a mind, and a soul. Love them and respect them for that. Donna, fun things to do. I
I
was, go ahead, please.
Well, I'm really excited about this because, I tried to do a lot of fun things with my kids when they were little.
Hmm.
Um, when they were all real little, we lived in Kansas and it would get real cold in the winter. The wind would blow
Hmm.
something fierce. And so I mean, they were just toddlers. So we couldn't I couldn't take them outside.
Hmm.
So we would just do silly fun things. We would play hide and go seek and we would dress up and play. They had um, those little toy guns that would just make all kinds of weird noise. And so I remember Gaia was a baby, so it was just Josh and I, and we were playing, and we went in and put on the weirdest outfits we could, right? Because we were whatever we called it. And I mean, I put foil in my hair and twisted it up. And I mean, I looked something fierce. So the doorbell rings, and I'm thinking it's my neighbor across the street. And I got this dadgum little light up gun that makes all kinds of noise, and it go right. And I answered the door, and I'm like, "Hi," and it was a UPS man.
He probably thought you were high, looking like that and acting like that.
Oh
Can
my
you
gosh, it
imagine
was
Donna with
funny.
his, tinfoil in her hair and all that? Wouldn't that be something?
Oh,
Oh my goodness. It's really amazing too, because I wished when I was younger, I would have had a better grip on how to do things with my kids,
Mhm.
to be honest with you, because when I was in my 30s, kids, we're taking care of the kids. You got a problem, we'll talk about it or fix it or whatever. Don't do this, don't do that. Clean up your room. You go
Right.
through the process of being a parent, not the content. And as I got older and things changed in my life, and it really blesses my heart because my kids, Lisa and James, and of course my grandkids, second time around is easier, right? But my kids, Lisa and James, they knew that I was their father, but they always call me dad.
Mhm.
That means the world to me. It really does. Because any any guy can be a baby maker,
Right.
be a father of a child, but I don't think they deserve the title father. But to be a dad, that means that someone that's there, they can talk to. And I remember one time I told Lisa, my daughter, when she was in high school, and I said, "Listen," I said, "I know the way the world turns," and I says, "If you ever, ever, ever get into a situation that you're uncomfortable, or you want to get out of there, or maybe what you were told and the way it turned out was two different worlds,
Right.
all you got to do is call me.
Yep.
I will come and get you, no questions asked."
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
I
and
said we
kids.
may discuss it in the morning, but
Yeah.
I won't be mad.
Mm-mm.
I won't be
I
mad.
I told her, I says, if you want to talk about it later, that's fine. If not, if
Exactly.
it's none of my business, not a problem. Because if she, used her integrity to get out of
Yep.
an unpleasant situation, or something that could be dangerous or make her do something she didn't want to, and she had the integrity to call me, "Hey, Dad, come and get me." I'd come and get her. Now, it never
Right.
happened, but she knew that door was open.
Right.
And with James, he was different. He was different than her. Of course, he's being a boy, and I just told him, I said, "Hey, behave yourself, watch yourself. If you get in a situation where you need to get out of there, let me know, and I'll come and get you. No questions asked." That's what I told him. But
Hmm.
you talk to boys different than you do your girls. Especially a dad. But there's one thing we want to focus in on. This is very, very, very important. Because when my dad died in 1978, he took a lot of the family history to the grave. And I don't even know where my twin brother and sister are buried at because of that. I remember the last time I went to the unmarked grave where they were buried. I was 14. And I still remember the general area. I went over there here a few years ago and I walked that cemetery in that area and I searched. And you know, that bothered me. But
Right.
when I was 14, guess what? It wasn't important.
Right.
I was just too young and too dumb. I'm not trying to be
Well,
cruel on teenagers, but that's just, your world is different. What's on your priority list? Go ahead, Donna.
I just wanted to say, my experience, um, I grew up with tons of stories like most of us did.
Hmm.
And when I moved back to Arizona,
Hmm.
my dad died 6 weeks later. No, I'm sorry, 2.5 months later after I moved back. And then my mother died 9 months after I moved back.
Mm.
So going through the stuff, I literally have found pictures that are in our family that I'm not kidding you, the stack must be 1.5 feet high.
Hmm.
And very few of them have dates, places, and names. And,
Amen.
and I know some of them. I do know some of them.
Hmm.
And it kills me that I don't know all of them
Hmm. Yeah.
because I want to be able to share this with my children and their heritage and how difficult life was and where we
Hmm.
came from.
Yeah.
And so, I mentioned this on a show a week or two ago, but, I'll be 58 this year. And one of the things that I have decided to do is to start a letter, one general letter to all of my children, and then an individual letter to my children. And I'm either going to do it once or twice a year, so that when that time comes, they have it in right there, plug it into their computer, and can, see things that I've written about them, things I remember, because I don't want those little things to be forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. You think about sitting around talking about, things that happen, and there's difference of opinion on what happened. And then there's also things that happen. They go like, I don't really remember that,
Right.
and
Right.
that's just human nature. But when it comes to making this fun, probably the very first thing, and Donna hinted at it there, or just said it. Probably the first thing to do is dig out the old family photographs
Yep.
and let the kids get involved with it, or let your cousins come over. Plan a time, says, hey, we're going to do some family tree research here. We're going to look at some pictures. So bring your old pictures and let's start making some notes here.
Mhm.
Because I was in one picture one time, and family picture, and everybody said, Jim, that's you. And I go, that ain't me. Yes, it is. That was you, or that is you. And it just didn't look like me.
Right.
I mean, just one of those weird things. And you think that you'd recognize yourself in every picture, but Donna, it didn't have a number under my chin or anything, like this,
Right.
So
I get it.
yeah.
The next one did, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. But no, seriously, that's a fun thing to do because kids get to learn about who their grandparents or great grandparents or the history of the family.
Right.
Because in my family, my sister Linda did some research on the family. And one of the problems in growing up in North Carolina, a lot of the family history was recorded as far as births and deaths in,
Bibles.
in the family Bible.
I have them. I have
Mhm.
one that dates back to I want to say 1854.
Yeah. But I was looking here online. There's a lot of websites there you can search and just
Oh, yeah.
keep looking at. But it's just really amazing. Like this one step-by-step guide. It's at thought.com or thoughtco.com. That's let me just put the link right there in the little box there. I'll have Donna copy it and put it on one of the marquee tapes there. It's thought
Maybe.
CO. Yeah. Oh, she can do that. She's talented. But anyway, while she's doing that, I'll go ahead and talk about this. Was posted and updated on August the 6th, 2018 by Kimberly Powell, thoughtco.com. And step one is what's hiding in the attic. Begin your family tree, by gathering together everything you have: papers, photos, documents, family heirlooms. Rummage through your attic or basement, the filing cabinet, the back of the closet. Then check with your relatives to see if they have any family documents they're willing to share. Also, you can check with the courthouses. A lot of times there's documents there it's been found, that you're not even aware of.
Right.
It's just there's just a ton of information there. And this step-by-step guide is really pretty good because some of the family history will give you clues on the back of old photographs. A lot of them are blank. And of course, they mention a family Bible or even postcards. Sometimes people will keep a postcard. And things that's important like that, in addition to researching the family tree, guess what? You can also do with all those pieces of paper and photographs and all that. You can create a family scrapbook.
Mm-hmm.
And let the kids get involved in that, because getting their mind active, this is what we talked about several times in the last 2 weeks. Uh, we were talking about how families can actually, get kids involved, to get them to think for themselves,
Right.
because the education system is more like, okay, we're going to train you how to pass a test. but you need to get kids to think how they can think for themselves. This is a great way of doing that. And, Donna, it's just amazing how when we do things like that, um, kids can pick up on stuff like that.
They can.
And yeah, and they will get involved and it will raise their interest and their plus a lot of kids don't know the family history at all.
Right. I have a picture of my grandfather in Montana when he
Hmm.
was probably about 12 or 13 years old.
Hmm.
And he was, back then, they used mules to plow the fields.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying it was 3 mules or 4, it was about 10 or 12 mules. And it is amazing to see him plowing the field. And you got to remember, this is old school plows, right?
Hmm.
Was nothing fancy. And they're literally having to handle, 10, 12 mules to plow the field.
Hmm.
That's just not something you see every day.
Oh no, 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 not at all.
So,
And
these kind of things are so important.
mhm, it really is because you think about the things that some of the trials and tribulations they overcome. See, like my family, when I think about it, my grandchildren do not know the trials and tribulations that my father overcame in his life.
Right.
And I'm going to write that down because it's important. I just thought of that right now as I'm thinking, which is a good thing. But how he almost got electrocuted on the job and he was hooked on barbiturates the rest of his life. Um, the the power pole he was on, 72,000 volts hit him, knocked him completely off the pole, hurt his back. That's why he was on those painkillers. But from 6 at night, or excuse me, from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, you wouldn't know he had a drug problem at all.
Right.
But starting after 6:30, 7 o'clock, he says, my nerves crave it and my back hurts.
Right.
And because the electricity hit his right hand, went across his body, went down to the left leg, it burned a hole big enough that I could stick a nickel through the Red Wing climbing boot. And that's a double layered boot in the toe.
Yes, it is.
That's a heavy duty boot.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
it'd take you'd have to put a little pressure on it to put a drill bit through that thing.
Right.
And
I think it's so important, Jim, because you're not only your children, but your grandchildren
mhm,
and your great grandchildren.
mhm,
And you can, the way I look at this is um, my mom's side of the family, and I was
mhm,
lucky. My father did a lot of our genealogy and has
mhm.
traced us back to um, my Nordic ancestors.
Wow.
And yes, back way, 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 way back. And which explains a lot about me,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
Vikings. So that's how far back part of my
Mhm.
family goes. And, but I've explained to my children and let them know my grandfather uh, was separated from his mother at the age of 8, 7 or 8 in France when Hitler invaded. And I mean, it was a free for all. You ran. And he lived on the street with what they called street urchins for over a year because he could not find his mother.
Mm.
And so they'd steal bread off of trucks to eat and they'd,
Oh yeah.
kill birds, etc. And they finally found
Mm.
him. And then great grandma married. She was a war bride. And my great uncle,
Mhm.
George, stayed in France and fought during the Maginot Line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was wounded. His first family was
Mhm.
killed.
Mhm.
And he was imprisoned by the Nazis, not
Mm.
once, but twice. The first time he got away. And the second time, they tightened the security around George because he was known, to be escaping. And he was a munitions expert.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
the stories that we have in our own lineage, think
Yes.
about how compelling Jim, how compelling that is. You
Well,
know,
the kids think about how they could think about, like my granddaughter, Shelby, she made a comment. She says, and it, not to me, obviously, but it came back to me that she was proud that her grandfather was a Vietnam veteran.
hmm
And I'd never really, talked about Vietnam. I never have talked about Vietnam with her, not even, I've mentioned it around her, I guess, but nothing to any degree. But
right.
that really, that gave me a little bit of a great feeling in my
Absolutely.
heart. And, it also gives you an insight that kids are looking for a reason to be proud of their family.
They're also looking for connection, Jim.
Yes,
They want
yes,
to know their roots
yeah, you're right.
because from the start to, the finish, because
Hmm.
it is truly our children, as we all know,
Hmm.
are the next leaders of this world.
Hmm.
And they need to know where they came from.
Yeah.
And to have that, just have that knowledge and
Hmm. Hmm.
pass it on to our
Oh,
children's children.
fantastic. Thank you for mentioning that because it flashed in my mind. What a great way to teach kids the discipline that their ancestors have to tough it out, to go through hard times, because no matter what the government says, and no matter what a bunch of political people say, you cannot legislate morality. You cannot legislate, and say, okay, you're not going to be bad anymore. That's against the
Right.
law now. You got to be good.
You
Well,
know,
good luck with that.
when my children were little and they wanted to do something,
Mhm.
an extracurricular, I'd be like, okay, let's talk about this a little bit. This is what's going to be expected. You're going to have to go, 3, 4 times a week, whatever. You're going to have games on weekends. Do you really want to put the time in for this?
Mhm.
I really do, Mom. I said, okay, now I'll make a deal with you. I will do this. I will take you. I will be at every game.
Mhm.
I will pay for it. But if you decide in the middle you do not like it, that's fine. But you're going to stick it out to the end.
Mhm.
You can choose not to return,
Mhm.
but you will not quit in the middle.
Mhm.
You will not quit in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very important. Because talking about getting information about the family tree, before the stories are carried to the grave, because once they get carried to the grave, they're gone forever. And I think I know I said recently on a previous show how my mother made her own barbecue sauce, and it was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got three sisters who worked with her in the kitchen, and cooking and all that. I figured, hey, I'd like to know what mom's barbecue sauce was, how she made it. Well, she used this, and none of them knew.
The
They knew
exact.
different. They knew different ingredients, but they didn't know all the ingredients. And there was kind of like, I'm not sure if mother used that or not, because I said, what's what Teen said? Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't recall that. So there's a lot of gray area there. Then to
Right.
put, salt on the wound, mother, she measured it in the canyons of her mind. She knew exactly how much she wanted to make. But I'm telling you, when mother made that barbecue chicken, we go to the church picnics. That was the first dish that was always empty.
Right.
And if you got behind a couple of big boys where they filled out the bib overalls, you might as well get ready to say, "Well, I think I'll have a double helping of mashed potatoes."
Right. Right.
Because ain't gonna
Yeah.
be no chicken for you, son. That
Yeah.
chicken gone.
Those things are so important. So,
Yeah.
one of the things, and the reason we wanted to talk about this
Mhm.
week, fun things to do with your family,
Oh
is
yeah.
because, we all know the state of economy. Gas is sky high, money is tight. Everybody feels it. I don't care who you
Yeah.
are. We all feel that pinch.
Mhm.
But we know, like Jim said earlier, children don't get it. We can
Mm-mm.
say to our kids when they're little, well, honey, I'd love to, but we just don't have the money.
Ain't you
They
write a
don't,
check?
right. They don't understand that
Mm-mm.
whole process.
Yeah.
So, some of the fun things that we can do at home, um, to keep boredom away, right? And to be more connected, have that
Yeah.
connection as a
Yeah.
family, right?
Mhm.
So, we looked up, and of course, in my house, uh, being bored meant, well, you dang well better do your chores first. That's number one because we all live here.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we didn't. My kids didn't have a lot of video games. I just, quite frankly, as a single mom, couldn't afford it.
Mhm.
So there was just not a lot of video games. So, but there was different things that we did. And one of
Mhm.
the things I have to say, and this is a funny tale out of school. So I love Claude Monet, one of my favorite artists of all time.
Hmm.
And my mother bought me a set of sheets of Claude Monet. And these were really expensive sheets. They were the water
Mm.
lilies.
Mm.
Well, my kids were making hammocks, tree fort hammocks out front in Ohio. And I came home from work and I look up in the tree and there, one of my sheets, that's a hammock. And of course, it's got a big hole in it to tie the knots. And I thought, well, damn, there goes that sheet. And
Mhm.
it was okay because my children use their imagination. I wasn't real happy about the sheet, but I certainly wasn't going to scold them for it.
Mm.
But they use their imagination to do something different and to have fun.
Mhm.
And I couldn't be mad at them for it, Jim.
Mm. I hear you. I understand. Yeah, I understand. And I like to ask you folks out there, if you got a grandkid or great grandkid or a young kid, whatever, have them interview an older person or the oldest person in the family, just, and record it. Because cell phones, we can record stuff left and right. We can do all sorts of things, and have them, ask the interview the oldest member.
Mm-hmm.
And you might need give them a little coaching or whatever, but I bet it will surprise you the mind that would generate the questions in the young mind there
Right.
based on what the older person says. That's going to be a real treat because it'll also kickstart that young person's mind to start thinking for themselves. That's
Right.
critical in life.
It
It's so
really is.
critical. And to be able to record, folks and interview folks, that's very, very important because once you have it recorded, you can always translate it. I know on Google, you can actually speak and it will type. It won't
Right.
be, you have to go back in and clean it up some because, especially if you got a degree like me in Southern slang and it doesn't understand that, it can like, I didn't say that, but that's okay. But it's really important to start writing everything down that you can think of. Ask this person about this, or ask someone about way back when this happened. Do you recall that? Get their input.
Right.
And, being able to, you know, put stuff together in a scrapbook. And then I think I wish that we'd have done this, and I wish my parents would have done this, but have each kid give them a little assignment to write a story about the family history.
Mhm.
Nothing long, but just a short one, and to
Right.
share their story at family time. Tonight, Mary is going to read her story about what did you get out of, the family
Right.
history,
Right.
and that gets their mind to thinking because when you get a mind thinking, it's not bored.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
it gets the creative juices going,
Oh,
which
yeah.
the beautiful thing about that is that it can lead children to
Mm,
open, their thinking, but it leads them and opens doors that they
hmm.
didn't know maybe were there of what
Yeah.
now could be an interest. You
Yes.
know, my husband laughs at me. I love to read. I'm an avid reader.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, for many, many, many years, I just kind of stopped reading.
Hmm.
And one day here a while back, I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I
Hmm.
adore reading. And it's nothing for me to go through a book a day. Nothing.
Did you ever take a speed reading course or anything?
No, no. Uh-uh. But I
Hmm.
am a very, very quick reader. And
Hmm.
you know, and I've always had a love of reading. I was
Hmm.
one of those weird children who read Little Women and Little Men when I was like 9 years old.
Hmm.
So, you know, I've read a ton of the classics. And, you know, I find it interesting. But I think because of that, it broadened my um, my curiosity,
Hmm. Your
right?
horizon.
Yes. And so I think that that is a beautiful gift, Jim,
Mm.
that we can give our children.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it really is because when you start opening the doors to expose kids to different things and just let, as the old saying goes, let nature take its course. But the
Absolutely.
energy is going to pull them. They're going to recognize deep down inside what their gifts, their talents are. Like my
Right.
granddaughter, she's a great little artist. The only thing I can draw, I'm like a draftsman. If you give me, a drafting table, a ruler, and a compass and whatever, I can make some good drawings. But freelancing from the canyons of my mind, it's not going to happen. I just
See,
don't have that gift.
and I love to paint,
Yeah.
and my two daughters paint.
Hmm.
So awesome.
Yeah.
There's just so
Because,
much we can do.
oh, yeah. Because everybody has different gifts and talents. And the main thing is to use your gifts and talents. And when you start exposing kids to different things,
Hmm.
especially like maybe they're I knew one kid one time. He was kind of surprised because his grandfather was an auctioneer. And what was amazing about that, it was kind of like Mel Tillis. This is a great story,
Oh,
and you know where I'm going with this.
I do. I do.
Mel Tillis was a great country and western singer.
Ooh, he was amazing. So's
Now
his daughter.
had a wonderful voice,
Mhm.
made a lot of great songs, but when he stuttered when he talked.
Yeah,
What an inspirational story that would be for kids. Here's a guy that stuttered when he
bad.
talked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was bad stutterer.
Yeah. Mel Tillis. We are to, we got to talk about that a little bit more because Mel, he was a wonderful guy, had a great singing voice.
And a
He
great
could,
sense of humor. He'd make fun
yes.
of himself.
Yeah, he would. He did not take it seriously because think
No,
about how stuttering can really
affect you.
Yeah, just like a kid, how embarrassed it is, and how they just want to,
Right.
close out the world and stay in the
Hide from the
inside.
world.
Yeah, yeah, and how damaging that is. My goodness gracious! But Merle, I mean, I say Merle, we've been talking about, we've been with Marty Haggard so much lately. I'm surprised I ain't started to learn how to play the guitar.
Right.
But and Donna's already got the tambourines, and she has one on each knee, and she bangs them together. When she's playing the guitar. Do
He's
not
silly.
visualize that. But I'm gonna get her snorting in a minute, and I'm gonna lose it. But anyway, Mel Tillis made he laughed about it.
Mhm.
He really did. He did not let his physical uh, I don't even want to call it a handicap. It's
No, it
physical
was
limit,
just
yeah,
him.
a limitation. It was just a
It was just
limitation
a
on being able to
it's
speak.
just
Yeah,
a fact of life.
yeah,
I
and
remember one time, Jim, that he was trying to say a word and he finally got it out and he looked at the audience and went, whew.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
he rolled with it. He didn't let it bother him.
yeah, exactly. And that's a person that's comfortable with himself, and that's what you want. You know, you might be 35, 40 years of age, but you may not be comfortable with yourself. Why? Think about that. You may be 50 or 60. You might not be comfortable about something in your life. Why?
Right.
Because you've allowed it to master you. I mean, you've seen me many times here on the show. I mean, my nose itches or something like that. It just does. I think it's the vibration of my big mouth. I don't know. But I mean, sometimes it does itch. I don't know. And I just reach up and, rub it. So what, And I mispronounce words correctly. But you know what? I laugh at it.
Right.
And then I say some goofy things sometimes. I remember I've seen Donna sometimes. I'd be sitting here talking to the camera from the bottom of my heart. And I look over there and she's snickering. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what she's laughing at, but the main thing is that be yourself, be true to yourself.
Exactly.
Because we all do goofy things, and Mel Tillis is a great, great, great example. And this young man I was talking about, he found out his grandfather was an auctioneer, and so I don't remember the story exactly, but it seems to me, and I could be wrong, that someone, I think it's someone, a family friend or someone told him, said, listen, you may have a problem stuttering, and that's okay, but you'd make one heck of an auctioneer, and that's what he became, and he was a good one.
Nice.
But it's just amazing how, if kids knew about Mel Tillis's story and how he never took his little stuttering issue, he never let it master him.
Right. He never let it control him.
Not at all.
His destination.
Yeah. And I remember hearing the story. I didn't see it, but I heard the story about Mel was trying to say a certain word and he couldn't. And he used another word and he says, I'll try that one.
Oh my goodness. Goodness.
People loved him and embraced him for it.
Right.
And that is just a tremendous story. And, going on with other things you can do, in finding out that family tree, doing some research. Of course, you got a lot of information online. My goodness gracious.
Well, and here's something else. Ask your kids, hey, guys, we're going to change things up this summer. Mm-hmm. We're going to do some different fun family things. We're going to do some projects. What are some of the things that you want to do? And go to each one of them. One of the things that my kids still remember with a great deal of fondness was when we lived in Kansas, because it was like I said, it was really cold in the winter and the wind was always blowing. That every Friday night we would have pajama dinner night, and you could not come and eat dinner unless you had your pajamas on. And it wasn't anything that cost. Dinner was the same, right? It wasn't anything that cost anything, but it was just something fun. And my kids were little tykes at the time, and they just dearly loved having pajama dinner night.
I'm also clicked on something here on that thoughtco.com. This is written by Kimberly Powell. I do not know her, but she updated this on February the 4th, 2019. But this is interesting, Donna. She says, create a genealogy research plan like a detective. And the first thing is, of course, she talks about how to develop it, but the first objective is, what do I want to know?
Right.
Think about that. And the known facts, what do I already know? And then the working hypothesis, what do I think the answer would be? And it goes on from there. My goodness gracious.
Well, and one of the other ways, if you were truly looking into genealogy, is reach out to family members who maybe second, third cousins. I have a cousin that I never knew existed who reached out to me and said, hey, I think you're my cousin.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't think so. And he said the last name come from this lineage. And I was like, no. And then I went, wait a minute. I remember that. Mm-hmm. And this was all on Facebook. He found me on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I messaged him back and I said, yeah, you're right. And so, we converse, and he does this as a hobby, and he has a huge amount of information on my family tree. And I would love to be able to get those pictures to him in some way, shape, or form to help along with his journey.
Oh, and just think at what we have at our fingertips now. We can, text pictures and,
Oh
we can,
yeah,
somebody can send you a picture and you can take a snapshot of it, screenshot of it. You got it. I mean, oh man, this is almost too much fun. But, I really like that idea about creating a detective,
hmm
have your kids get involved in a detective thing, and identify the sources, which records might hold the answer and do they exist. And then you research your strategy and you come
right,
up with a game plan, the known facts and working hypothesis. All that would be fun. And you
right.
can find this outline, ladies and gentlemen, on thoughtco.com, how to develop genealogy search plan. If you just go there, and the lady's name that created this article is Kimberly Powell, Kimberly Powell, Powell. And
And
the
that
web,
website is up on the marquee.
yeah, yeah. And you go there, and that's the original one. Just scroll down, and you'll see, how to create um, creating a genealogy research plan like a detective. Just remember the
Mhm.
word detective. Click on that because, oh, don't kids love to play detective?
Right.
You can make that so much fun. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things this week you can have fun with. Of course, the normal things you can do with kids' games, we're going to blend that in, but also a mystery dinner. And we're going to play, two truths and one lie. We can invite your family and friends over.
Well, and we're also going to do it again.
That's right. We both are batting 50-50 because last
Right.
time we had two different times or two different incidents where we told two truths and one lie. And I think I got the first one and missed the second one, or vice versa. I don't recall now.
Right.
But anyway, I know that Donna got 50-50 on me. So we're both batting 50-50. So place your bets. Let's play bingo, because let's do that on Wednesday,
On Wednesday, middle of the week. Perfect.
middle of the week. Yeah. That'll get a, and we're going to, we did two last time. Let's do three because this might
Ooh,
be a tiebreaker, you know,
okay.
and I got to come up with three good lies.
I know, me too.
Yeah, because last time somebody asked me, "What were the two lies you told last time?" I said, "I don't remember because yeah, that would automatically disqualify me as a politician. You got to be a good
Right.
liar with a good memory."
Right. Yeah, it took me a minute to remember what one was a lie. But I only remember out of the game we did, I only remember one of them that was a lie. I don't remember what the other one was.
I don't either. I don't either.
I
And
know that the lie was that I was a prom queen,
mhm.
but I don't remember what the
and
other
and
one
see
was. Same I told.
you being a model also, you being a prom queen. That's why I picked that she was a prom queen and she
Right.
wasn't, because her being a model, I mean, it would go hand in hand, right? I mean, that's like when me and Larry Gamble tried to, get out. I think it was U.S. history or something like that to take French, and it was Larry's
Right.
idea because Larry thought if the girls won't talk to us in English, because all the pretty girls were in there, just girls, the cheerleaders, all the pretty girls at school, and Larry came to me and he said, made that suggestion. I go like, well, why would we want to do that? He says, don't you get it? If they won't talk to us in English, maybe they'll talk to us in French. Of course, as a kid in high school, junior, I think it was, bing, brilliant idea.
Right.
And our parents at those day and time, we had to have parental permission signed off to change classes and all that. And for some reason, our mothers and fathers figured out that we were not in there for the reason of learning French. So we didn't get to change classes. So long story short, those pretty girls never talked to me in English, Spanish, French, or even Swahili.
Oh, goodness. Well, we're excited, guys. We're going to come back
Yeah.
tomorrow. We are
Mhm.
out of time,
Yes.
so we need to wrap this up. But we are
Mhm.
going to come back tomorrow and
Mhm.
we're going to talk about really fun things to do at home with your kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so
Mhm.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, we wanted to cover this genealogy because it's so important for the family history. It's great ways to get the kids involved and for them to also feel like they got a heritage they can be proud of,
Right.
because everybody does to a certain degree. Somewhere in their
Absolutely.
family line, down the line, there is somebody there that stood up and made a
Yep.
difference. And that's what you want to find. It's worthy of finding. So let your kids be detectives. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Have a good day. Whenever you watch this, be sure and love
Absolutely.
yourself first, then you can love others. And as Donna always likes to say, be kind
Give
to
yourself
yourself and
grace.
give yourself grace. We'll
Absolutely.
see you tomorrow, folks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.